I think we're pressing some buttons here. Am I on air?
I think so.
Oh, you are too.
Now you're on air.
Even Alex is on air. Jason is running the camera. So we're on TV. You can see us yet again. James Boyd is here. Alex Aguilera is back in action. Will Gerard has decided to bail on us again. No, actually,
coming in clutch 2 straight weeks in a row. Let's go.
thanks, Will. No, actually, he is doing some freelance work with a photographer down in southern Illinois on a really powerful piece they're working on together. So we look forward to seeing Will in here again.
Yeah, he told me he was leaving out. Talked to him yesterday after covering the basketball game together. He told me he was leaving out at 7 a.m. today to go down there and cover the high school basketball team or something like that. So
Yeah, if he left at 7 a.m. this morning, he was at the very least about 8 hours late. Because I spoke with him in Richmond, just a couple blocks away from us, at 3.
Fake news, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, he definitely told me he was leaving. He told me he was leaving early, 7 a.m.
I know, he told me that too. Will, where are you at? Anyways, we have Wilshire basketball stuff. Again, always Wilshire basketball here in Champaign-Urbana. Wilshire basketball played today in Alabama. Men's team took a big loss to UTA, 62-37, rough. But they beat Auburn, 49-47. Played them not too long ago, actually. And for the women, they lost. Wow. Very bad. To UTA, 61-22.
Oh, yeah, that is.
And a loss to ABC Medical Commons, the ABC Medical Commons Stars.
Oh, wow. That's...
A mouthful.
Yeah.
44-28. So rough day for the women. I think as we've talked about a few times on the show, UTA on women's side has a few Paralympians. Rose Halderman, Abby Duncan. Rose is very tall. She has the height that Illinois does not. She has the shooting and the speed, the defense, the everything that kind of the inexperienced Illinois women's team does not have. They need about all of those qualities right now, but we shall see what happens in a couple of years when they're juniors and seniors. So look forward to seeing Emily Oberst in 2 years. She's already chasing a Team USA spot. Not too shabby as a sophomore in college. Maybe I'll get that next year.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
I will never put it past you, Ryan.
Yeah, I'm not going to get that.
You're talking about years down the line. I'm talking about tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
The tournament's not over.
I'm not going to be on Team USA tomorrow.
Talking about the team. The team plays again tomorrow.
They do play again tomorrow, yes, of course. Both teams do back in action. We'll see how the men do after a big loss to UTA. I don't think Bushy was too happy about that one, but from my observations at practice and games, it doesn't seem like the team ever gets too down on themselves.
You can't. Not in sports. Not when you put so much into it as they do. You're not getting up at 6 a.m. and practicing at 6 a.m. to give up midway through the season. I know it sounds cliche, but I know I wouldn't want to. Like, what the heck am I getting up for? Everybody thinks we're still going to lose. So you got to get up for something.
I guess. You get up for this.
Boom.
For our show.
Yes, I get up at 5 p.m. on Fridays. Just sleep all the way through.
During the school year, you miss every class.
Yeah, I missed a few. No shame.
Yeah, me too. It's okay. But the women's and men's team play tomorrow, of course. Women play at 1 p.m., just one game, against host team Alabama, University of Alabama, that is. And the men play 3 against
Who?
Alabama. Alabama.
The Crimson
Wow.
Tide.
So they're both playing Alabama. Last year, kind of funny, in Alabama, the games were actually broadcast on a local station here on Fox 49, I believe that's the channel. Is that a channel, or am I making up one?
I do not know. Honestly, I probably watch about 4 channels, and they're
Okay.
all sports. It's like ESPN, TNT, ABC, like NBC. Football season's over, so NBC doesn't really get much play. But
Okay,
sorry.
well, a channel of some
So
sort.
0 local channels.
I'm serious. I'm sorry. Like, I do not watch a lot of TV unless it's live sports or Netflix. That's what it is.
It's okay. I haven't watched hardly any. But last year, most notably, the games were broadcast on the local channel, so you could watch these games in Springfield, Illinois, and Champaign, maybe even in Peoria. So a good way to get the sport out there. In Alabama, it was also shown. So good opportunity for both teams. The games this year were not on TV, from my knowledge.
I tried to tune into the live stream of the game earlier, and it wasn't really the clearest view. What's
Yeah.
going on with the connection? Maybe the thousands of miles apart and had some playing that.
Well, even these grassroots broadcast teams, they don't have billions of bucks to pay NBC or ABC.
We just need more money.
I think they just need the T-Rex we have in the studio here. Yeah, so we shall see what the men and women do tomorrow. Alabama was seeded at the home tournament and played pretty evenly against Illinois on the men's side. Women's side, I don't remember the score at this very moment, but I think it'll be an interesting game for Illinois. And, of course, this is their last home tournament of the season before they jump into the NWPA National Tournament.
Yeah, they're definitely looking at tomorrow. Both of them are coming off some pretty tough losses. You lose by the men here, it looks like it's 25, and then the women, which is 61-22, is just obviously from the start.
Yeah. No need to do math
Yeah,
there.
I mean, I won't try to be too disrespectful. I mean, just for the math's sake, 39 points. But
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
okay.
that's tough. Like, that's tough. That's tough to kind of overcome. But in the same sense, at least they have a game left to close the weekend. You don't have to close out your weekend in that fashion. It's kind of one of those things where, okay, we had this bad loss, sleep on it, get it out of the system the next day.
Right, but the men played Alabama today and won by 2.
We'll see. I was gonna say, it's always interesting to play the same team in a tournament again, because then you're always like, who's better? If you don't get like a tiebreaker, it's just 2 games, and then you play them once and they beat you once, and it's like, oh, like, well, I'll see you same year, same time next year. And then
Yeah,
you're like,
so-
who's better?
So, James, from your time in the NBA, and Alex, for you
Oh
too,
man,
in your time in the NBA, when you're playing the same teams over and over again, what do you do to make sure, like, even if you continue to beat them, what do you do to make sure that you're playing at that level and not being too kind of complacent, or like kind of taking it easy?
I think it's always just comes down to like tendencies and things like that. Because if the team is scouting you, they're gonna know who your best player is. That means you got to get better. My coach would always say, like, if you didn't get better if you stayed the same and everyone else got better, you got worse. So that means you got to stay in the gym, get better. Even if you beat a team, try to find those instances where you could have obviously improved and beat them even worse, beat them down.
That's true.
Maybe not that aggressively.
Wow.
Right, like, wow, okay.
Brought the dog out of me.
Alex,
Man.
what do you have to say?
Well,
Could be in baseball too. I mean,
right. Well, I think repetition more than anything helps out a lot. I mean, NBA-wise, I think the closest I got to the NBA was 2K. But, I mean, when I did play basketball, I know certain schools we would play a couple times. I remember, I think, 8th grade, we had, like, a really good team, and it was, like, back-to-back games. We played, like, our rival, Bell. Oh, my God, I hated Bell. That's another story. But regardless, though, I mean, in just playing them back-to-back, we kind of understood their tendencies. Like James said, we understood who were their main guys, what roles they played as well. And it was just a matter of just adapting and also just, hitting the gym and practicing as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'll let that slide.
Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't go pro. The furthest I went was high school baseball.
That's okay.
That's as far as I went.
Failure.
I'm stuck on 2K, so it's okay.
Hey, you know what? But I won a ring in basketball at the YMCA when I was like 8. So you can't take that away from me. I got a ring.
The ring don't fit now, so yes, I can.
I didn't even get a ring. I got a little trophy in my room.
I have a ring from graduating high school, but that's about it. Anyways, enough of that talk. We're gonna take a quick break here and come back with some wheelchair track. Tatiana McFadden, Amanda McCrory are back in action. Stay tuned. Are we okay, Alex?
Now we're okay. I don't know what happened with the buttons there.
Oh, okay.
But we're good. We're good.
Sometimes those buttons can get out of line a little bit.
Yeah.
Gotta push them back. So we have a Tokyo Marathon coming up on Sunday. The wheelchair track season is back and better than ever. Tatiana McFadden, Amanda McCrory will be there. James Boyd has the scoop. Feed it to me.
All right, so I'm looking at Paralympic.org, and one of the things that McCrory kind of discussed with her and Tatiana being healthy is the nuances of being teammates when it comes to these type of competitions. It's weird because you train all this time alongside someone that's your teammate, quote unquote, but then you get into a marathon and you want to beat them. And in the article, she says, which I thought was very interesting. She says, at the end of the day, we're teammates. It definitely comes down to every woman for themselves at the end, but she's an incredibly strong competitor. And she's also an incredibly strong teammate, so I can work with her and use that to my advantage. It's just going to be better for both of us. So I think one of the things that I kind of take away from this is considering how great Tatiana has been, and even Amanda McCrory in her own right, it's very interesting to always see like that parallel between support and competition. It's like I want them to do well, but not better than me. So I think that's an interesting take on it. And obviously, considering the injuries that Tatiana had, I think over the last, year or two, having them back healthy again and competing is obviously good for the sport, and it'll turn out to be a good competition for Illini athletics in general. So
you talk about the difference between kind of supporting each other.
Yeah.
And also,
I mean, because you go from the Summer Olympics it's the Paralympics where, obviously you're competing against each other, but it's all Team USA, Team USA, Team USA, and then you come back here and it's like, I get we're still on teams, but it's not, I feel like it's not as team-oriented or team-driven. You're not wearing the same USA across your chest. You're kind of like, all right, she's my teammate, but I've been watching her like in training, what's her weaknesses, and for Tatiana, that might be hard to find.
Right.
But at the same time, it can be motivating in a sense because you're always next to someone or working with someone that's going to push you to reach places that you might not have, get on your own.
Right. Yeah. No, I totally see that. Having Tatiana kind of lead the way in some practices when they're going down the streets, I think it may even push Amanda or the upcoming athletes to work harder, practice more, spend more time in the gym, on the rollers. So yeah, I think it's definitely a big boost for them. So we shall see. Last year, of course, Amanda saw some good success in Tokyo. Not too bad. And we will see about Sunday. What's your prediction, James?
It's always interesting because you want to pick Tatiana over the field, but I'll take the field over Tatiana.
So Tatiana will.
I think she'll end up second, and first I don't know. I think her and Amanda will finish second and third. Flip flop them if you want to, but I feel like it's got to be one out there that might slip in there because in this sport, it's just not as cut and dry as this, this basketball where you can kind of pencil someone in for 20 points a night. It depends on the day. I know they put the work in, obviously, to train and prepare for these moments, but there's other great athletes out there. And we'll see. And like I said, Tatiana's still kind of getting back into that 100% mode and mood, and obviously the greatness she's shown at some point. Can't do it forever, so we'll see.
Yeah. And last year, Swiss racer Manuela Schar led the way, got first place. McRory second. Susanna Scarone from Illinois third. But I predict...
Dun, dun, dun.
I don't know. Yeah. I predict Tatiana will pull away with a win.
Mm-hmm.
And Amanda will come in second or third.
Yeah, their finishes can also have like a bigger impact on their series overwise as far as looking ahead to other marathons like the Boston Marathon and things that are coming up. So it'll be interesting to see how like their seeding kind of shapes the course of their season. Because even though you want to obviously finish first and everything, it's not gonna well, most of the time it doesn't happen unless you're the GOAT. But
unless you're Tatiana.
Yeah, but in most cases, to kind of cover all my bases here, even if you don't finish first, it can still, if you get a high seed in this, it can kind of shape or help you later on down the line where you're trying to, get better seeding as far as rankings in the world, things like that. So we'll see.
Actually, correction, Amanda won last year. I think that's a correction she wants us to make.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I mean, she seemed very, very nice when we did our video piece on her and everything like that. But anybody will be upset when you don't call them the winner they won.
Yeah.
So
don't tell Jean Driscoll ever she lost.
Oh, goodness.
Because she really never did lose.
Yeah, we joke about it all the time. But you look over at our wall here in the studio, and she's got her Boston Marathon wins kind of counted out like literally counting from 1 to 10.
Yeah, so if you're watching on UPTV, you can see Jean Driscoll's signature on the wall and about a dozen different years.
Yeah, it's hilarious, but when she was doing it, but it's also incredible because she literally counts like 91, 92, 93, 94. Took a couple years off and then, came back in, 98 and won again in 2000. Like it's incredible. So I tell you what, my respect for this sport has grown, or just Paralympic athletes in general, especially the ones that track is hard. Like track is one of the hardest sports, able-bodied, Paralympic. So to dominate in that, because I feel like that's one of the sports where it's hard to stay on top because it is a young person's sport. In basketball and baseball, you can get older and adjust your game, but like in wheelchair athletics, it is, or in track, it is speed. Like it's either you're getting faster or you're getting slower. So like there's no like, you can slow your game down in basketball and get a little bit and find different ways. Like you can't slow your game down in track. It's either you're slowing down, you're getting old, or you're gonna lose.
Right.
So it's always cool to see them sustain
peak, and then once that peak is there, you're
exactly, man. So I'm excited to see them keep sustaining their excellence.
There you go.
Dun, dun, dun.
Words of wisdom from James Boyd.
I wouldn't call it wise.
Oh, okay. So after some of the recent updates, we're going to jump from an interview we had done with Josh Birnbaum as we talk about wheelchair basketball, and as they come to a close on their season, we're going to talk about how a guy writes a book. Actually, no, we're not. We're going to talk about the only wheelchair basketball team's run to a title a few years ago, coming up after a quick break. Stay tuned for
Please.
more.
Welcome into Rollin Illini here on WPGU 107.1. We are here with a guy that takes pictures. Josh, what's it been like to cover Paralympic sports and have a good time doing it?
It's been great to cover Paralympic sports, wheelchair basketball. I've also covered wheelchair track. I've learned a lot about a variety of different people and the lives that they live in ways that most people don't otherwise get to see. I get to be there when they're getting ready and when they're training and afterwards, and when they're not training and when they're just living their lives. And it's a privilege view, and I hope that I can share that view with other people so they can see that how people who have disabilities live and succeed and become amazing athletes.
Hey Josh, this is producer man Will Gerard here. I kind of, did a little looked for a little background information on you, and one thing I found is that you actually got your bachelor's degree in aerospace engineering before getting a master's in photojournalism, and those, to me, seem like very different fields. So could you kind of explain like how you, developed a passion for photojournalism?
Yeah, well, I've always loved math and science, and so I thought I wanted to be an engineer, and that's why I came to Illinois to study engineering. And during my time there, I also worked for the Daily Illini, and I discovered I had a love for photography. So I decided to pursue that photography career instead. But I was so far into the engineering, I decided to just finish the degree and then pursue a photography career. And I think they use very similar parts of my brain. Engineering is both technical and creative, and so is photography. So I kind of get to use both sides of my brain, and I get to interact with people and hear their stories, and for me, it's just where my passion lies.
How did you first come up with the idea for your book Dream Shot? I know you followed the team for like 3+ years. I mean, did it kind of come to fruition over time, or is this a vision that you had early on during that process?
It came over time. I initially decided to photograph the team because I found out we had a wheelchair basketball team, and most people didn't know about them. I thought that was a travesty. I wanted people to know this incredible team and the things that they did. And so I decided to, as a way of training myself to become a photographer, I decided to pursue a project. And that was going to be the wheelchair basketball team. I talked to the coach, and he was very supportive. He liked my ideas. And so I covered them for 3 years. And then later on is when I kind of developed, after the work was photographed, I began to develop it into a book.
Gotcha. I mean, and through that experience, like, what did you really learn about the team? I mean, you kind of touched upon already how it affected you, but like, what were some elements of following the team that like most people wouldn't really know about?
I think there are some things about athletes that everyone doesn't get to see, like all the training that goes on behind the scenes, the watching the videos, the coaching, all of the traveling that they have to go through to play all over the world. So that's unique to athletes. I think, I myself am not physically disabled, and so I was able to see what it was like from that perspective, to see how they have to move with their chairs, and they take spare wheels to every tournament, and how they get in and out of cars, and how they change clothes, and all these things that, I was totally ignorant to. By the virtue of me being there to observe and photograph, I got to see and document so that others could understand that. So it was those things that really made me aware. And then also just, how incredible these athletes are. Like, if you sit next to one of the track athletes or the basketball athletes, like their backs and their arms are so huge and muscular because, they just train all day long and work all day long using those. It's just incredible to see the strength that they have and the skill that they have from the same level of dedication and practice they put into it as the able-bodied athletes.
Yeah, we actually had Tatiana McFadden in the studio, I believe our first week last semester, and her arms are definitely big, very, very intimidating sitting around her. But you kind of mentioned it a little bit, but how important was it not only for you, just for other able-bodied individuals to see that people with disabilities could still get the job done and do incredible things beyond just, just being overlooked all the time?
Yeah, I think it's really important that people step outside of themselves and get to see how others live. And, I think that I spent so much time with these individuals because I wanted to portray a a more nuanced, in-depth view of their lives that wasn't just a stereotype. And I hope that the pictures accomplish that.
And what is it about pictures per se that are different than, like, you know, me as opposed to me? I'm more of like a writer, so I usually do a lot of written pieces. But when it comes to photography, what is it about just getting that shot and having the shot speak for itself?
Yeah, good question. I think photography is great in that it can capture a single still moment, and it freezes it in time. You don't see the moment before it, and you don't see the moment after it. You see that one decisive, perfect moment, and you get to sit with it and think about it, and you know, there's something amazing about that. It's a cerebral, thoughtful process, and it forces people to stop and to look and to say, oh, I have to examine this further. You know, it's not like a million photographs in a gallery. It's not like a video that's playing really quickly. It's one photograph, and they have to sit with it and wrestle with it and figure it out. And I think that thought process that a still photograph can engage is important, so that people can challenge their assumptions.
Hey Josh, this is Will again. What do you enjoy about teaching your craft at Ohio?
I love teaching photography because I get to teach both the technical side of things to my students, which is great because that satisfies the engineer in me, and then also the creative side, in which I get to kind of nurture their vision and let them see the possibilities in the world with their photography, with their journalism, with their art, with their creation, and what they can do with it for a career or just for a passion and a career. I think it's great to be able to just, as a teacher, to nurture other people and kind of support them in their journey of learning. And I think photography, there's so many possibilities with it. We live in a visual society nowadays.
Along those lines, how did your time at Illinois and working as a photographer for the DI kind of shape who you are today in terms of your journalism ability?
My time at Illinois was fundamental to me. You know, there was a great journalism school there, so even though I didn't go to it, I was friends with a bunch of people, and I learned tons from them, from those journalism students. I worked at the Daily Illini, and it was such a great learning experience. We were like a real paper, you know. We published real stories and hard-hitting news reports and investigative pieces and photo essays. It was incredible. And being in a university that's so amazing and has amazing teams, you know, Big Ten teams, that was a great experience for me to learn to be a journalist as well.
So when you look like at where you are now, do you ever feel like, man, like time kind of flew by, and you like one day, like you were saying, you're at the DI, and then the next you're teaching, you're the one teaching and kind of passing it on to the next generation?
Yeah, I do think about that, and I think teaching is just a dedication to a lifelong commitment to learning. You know, I learn every day from my students, and they learn from me, and it's symbiotic. And then I'm also, as a teacher, I do force myself to keep creating new work. I keep photographing and working on projects and publishing work online and in books, and you know, I stay active in photography so that I'm constantly changing and learning. So yeah, I look back on it and I'm like, wow, that was a while ago, but it really wasn't, and I'm still learning every day.
Are there any projects that you're working on right now that you'd like to share with us?
Currently, I'm working on one project that documents bluegrass musicians in the Appalachian region, and I photograph portraits of them, and I do interviews and some audio field recordings, and then I'm also photographing some hip-hop musicians in Illinois, and kind of documenting their life as it goes along. That's a long-term project. I'll probably be photographing that for a long, long time. So I like music, I like people and human culture, and I like immersing myself in people's lives to see a view that no one else can see.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, like, what kind of drives the topic of your projects? Because it seems like, see, we found out about you because of Dream Shot, but then you're telling us about musicians and things that had nothing to do with sports. So how do you kind of navigate what you want to shoot?
Yeah, I think for me it's intuitive. I initially am attracted to something, and it's because I don't understand it or don't have any knowledge of it, and so I want to explore it. My camera is a tool through which I can explore that topic and meet those people and ask them questions and observe their lives. And so I think that's initially how I've been attracted to projects. I'm definitely interested in music culture, so I've been pursuing a number of projects along those lines. And because I now have this book out, Dream Shot, about the wheelchair basketball team, I'm very much interested in ideas of ability and disability, and I would love to do another book on female Paralympic athletes. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about now, is writing some grants for that and planning that for the next few years.
Josh, I know you were in town this past weekend for the wheelchair basketball tournament. I'm sure you saw a lot of the action. Like, what's your relationship with the program? What does it look like today?
So I stay in touch with the program and the individuals who run it. The member of the team that photographed 10 years ago, he was the team captain. I have many great photographs of him. He ended up becoming the team coach, so he is the head coach for the Illinois men's wheelchair basketball team now. So, he and I are good old friends, and some of the people who run the program behind the scenes, I maintain a relationship with and keep in touch with. And I hope that relationship can last a long, long time, and that this work will not only document history, but it will continue to celebrate for generations to come what that program has accomplished, not only for athletics, adaptive athletics, but for disability rights and getting individuals opportunities to do amazing things. So, I think my relationships are important, and it's important to me that the work is meaningful to the people that it documents.
Unfortunately, I believe our audio dropped a little there, but I know you were talking about head coach Matt Butchie. Could you kind of, he's one guy we talk a lot about on our show. We've had a lot of interviews with him. Like, how is he different now than he was, 10 years ago as a player? I'm sure he's grown a lot as a person. Like, do you still see him as that same guy who was one of the players on the team back then?
Yeah, Matt is a great guy. First off, when he was on the team, when I observed him on the team, he was always a model player, always upstanding, a role model for others, would do anything for anyone else on the team, tons of attitude, tons of energy, and he just had this kind of aura about him, this kind of energy that you feel when you're around him. So I was drawn to photographing him, and that was kind of when I spent the most time with him. I moved away from Illinois, and I've just kept in touch with him and seen him a few times since then. And now it's a little different to see him as the coach, because I know him as Bushy, and he is head coach Matt Bushy now. And I think though that he's embodying that same spirit, the positivity, the energy, the encouragement, the support, challenging other players to be better always. It was great to see him this past weekend at the tournament. He wears a lovely blue suit and an orange bow tie, and he's there, yelling and encouraging the players, and it's pretty amazing to see him in that new role. But it feels like a natural evolution for him, I think.
All right. One final question I do have for you. This is James, by the way. How much have you seen photography change over the years in the sense of social media? I know back when you probably started, it wasn't as big as it is now, but now if you see a photo now photos can go viral, so how has that kind of changed for you?
Can you ask that question again? Some of that cut out.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was asking, how have you seen photography change when it comes to social media? Now when we see a picture in sports, an iconic picture, it'll go viral on Twitter in like 10 minutes, as opposed to 10 years ago when maybe it wasn't as easy to get around.
Yeah, good question. I think information transfers so much more quickly nowadays. People can look at photos very quickly. They see a lot of content, and a lot of it's visual, whether it's photos or photographs or text messages on news websites. And it's also fast and immediate, and it's at your fingertips. So I think we're kind of reaching an age of information and visual saturation where we're a little bit oversaturated. And so I find, at least for myself, as a photographer and someone who consumes a lot of visual media, I have to take a step back sometimes and kind of limit my media diet so I don't get overwhelmed, and so that I'm still able to digest and think about what I'm seeing. But I think very much a lot of people just look at a lot of visual content all the time, and it's good, and it can be dangerous too if we don't control of it.
All right, well, Josh, thank you for.
We're back on the air here, yakking away about Paralympic sports and anything and everything related. Will Gerard, producer man who is not here and has not been here.
Hey, you missed one. You missed one or two too, sir. So relax over there.
No, Will be here. He's here in spirit somewhere.
I'm glad you looked around.
I did look around for our radio listeners. Anyways, he sat down with Matt Bushy, the Illinois men's basketball coach right now in Alabama. Will sat down with him before they left, and they Will produced a segment for Good Morning Illini. Of course, a friend of ours here at Rollin Illini. They produce fun stuff. James is on there. Tell me about this segment with Matt Bushy.
Yeah, so on Good Morning Illini, we like to cover things around campus, obviously, that relate to Illini. And we have a segment every week which is called Who Am I? And we kind of highlight a different personality on campus, whether it's a musician, a cook, or someone that collects Yu-Gi-Oh cards, I don't know, that are very expensive or something like that. So we'll present...
I mean, I've seen it. They can be. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Will presented the idea to our producer man over there, Ken, to talk to Matt Butchie since we go to practice so often. And the video is actually pretty cool because we got a lot of footage of their weekend. He got a lot of great shots of the team during senior night, the flowers and the emotions of the family singing. Right, exactly. Oh, I hope they weren't ugly crying. But that was pretty cool. And I think the video, by the way, is posted on Facebook, and you can check it out on Good Morning Illini Facebook page. I'm pretty sure it's the only one.
And YouTube.
Yes, on YouTube. And just fun fact, Matt Butchie retweeted it from our Twitter. So, boom, there's that. But yeah, like you get to see a side of him that doesn't involve basketball and things that he likes beyond just the hardwood and the whistles and getting up early and things like that. So it goes into different passions. Like he does woodworking. And I'm like, that's an interesting passion because I don't like building anything ever. But obviously, you see, he likes it. So,
interesting passion, Matt.
Yeah, it really is to me because I'm like, I feel like he would get tired of wood. You're on the hardwood all the time, and then you go and build stuff with wood. Like, it's funny. It's ironic to me, put it like that. But yeah, it's a cool piece, and just gives a nice little visual of a team that isn't always as covered as other teams around campus. So,
okay, yeah. One thing we do talk a lot about on the show is kind of beyond the sport. We go beyond the sport and beyond the game of basketball or track or skiing or whatever it is we're talking about. Wheelchair dancing. There's no wheelchair wrestling yet. Maybe I'll start that. I don't know. Anyway,
I just feel like that's a bad idea.
Yeah, I was like, I don't.
I think.
I'm no expert in Paralympic sports, but I don't know how that'll work. But
I feel like
you never know.
I feel like it's just dangerous.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ryan over there, he probably just wants to just take out his aggression.
Right, like,
it happens.
People are just gonna pick up the wheelchairs and then just use those. Like, let's make it too violent.
Yeah, there goes $40,000. Anyways, today, 8 years ago today, I'm kind of beyond the sport. Erica Wilson, member of the sophomore on the women's basketball team in Illinois, found out she had her impairment, transverse myelitis. So 8 years ago, she was riding in a car with her mom, realized she was getting some cramps in her legs, and It was getting worse and worse. Lost a lot of strength. Was taken to the hospital and was diagnosed with transverse myelitis. And to break that down, it's essentially an inflammation of the spinal cord, and it affects your nerves and muscles. So she can walk quite a bit, but she still uses a chair, and she used basketball as a platform to build confidence and get back into being an active person, get back into sports. In that first year of village basketball for her, she started in the championship game. Not bad.
Not bad at all. I mean, you look at stuff like that, that's incredible because, I mean, in one moment you're in pain, and the next moment, someone's telling you, hey, you're probably not going to do the stuff that you've been doing, for however many years before that. So that had to be tough to swallow. And I think in the video we watched, and you see, and she not only had to adapt to the new normal, but kind of adapt to not just playing, but living and doing other things in the chair. So there's that. And to see where she is now, she posted a picture about it and the 8-year anniversary, and she's ripped up here, flexing on us and everything. And that's it. That's pretty cool to see, just because I'm sure, and obviously I haven't experienced it, but just imagining in that situation, it had to be something that was pretty tough to overcome, and to find that passion and not only play the sport, but be good at it and start your championship game in your first year and prove that you can hold your own. That had to be pretty special.
Right. So one thing I've always been interested in learning more about and researching is the concept of being able-bodied and then transitioning through some traumatic experience to being in a chair, losing your eyesight, or whatever. I feel like that would be quite a transition for anybody to realize what life was like when you could walk, for example, when you could do everything and drive, and then something happens, you realize your legs are cramping up, or somebody I know from my experience, somebody who gets hit by a car, and it kind of changes your life, and that'd be quite a frustrating experience. Like, I don't know what it's like to walk. It looks pretty cool.
Exactly.
And I'm not going to try. I have walked before, but I'm not going to try it right now. Maybe tomorrow. No, not tomorrow. No. Tomorrow's an off day. It's Saturday.
Yeah, this is actually a topic we discussed in my disability class that I'm taking right now. Or I think our paper last week, we talked about how different it is for people who are born with disability and how they're always used to having it. So that from birth until, however old they are, they have found ways to adapt to it, and they've always had to live this type of lifestyle. But when you have your life change just like that, a lot of the research shows that it's harder to kind of get used to it. It's frustrating. You get to questioning why things happen the way they do and things like that. So, again, to see where she is now, hats off.
Yeah, there's one guy I got to know in my community college, did a story about him. Quite a cool guy. When he was in high school, big football player, started on the football team, went to the state finals, but he was a little bit too late one night, driving home 3 a.m. after a party, and kind of hit a sign, actually did hit a sign, ejected from his car, was found on the road in a pool of blood, and woke up a few days later in the hospital. He couldn't walk. So not only is it hard for somebody to transition to being in a chair or whatever, I think it's also hard for the parents.
Yes. And you see the emotion in the video with Erica Wilson from her parents.
Yeah, by Gatorade.
Yeah, I mean, but that's kind of to be expected, Even when, just personally speaking, when my family went through some things, as far as just learning about disabilities, mental disabilities, or mental illnesses and things like that. It's an adjustment for the person who has it, but it's also an adjustment for everyone around them, because just as much as they want to be who they quote unquote were, in a sense, we all wanted the same thing, you know. But then one thing I feel like that isn't always included in these commercials, like you go to the hospital, you talk to doctors, and there's never the clear cut answer. You know what I'm saying? It's almost, I remember when my family member was going through things, we were almost wishing it was like a physical thing. Like, oh, like they had just broke their arm, put a cast on it, be good in 6 months. But when it comes to some of the other things that are life-changing, whether it's mental or physical, it's not going to be like this quick fix. There's different ways of doing it. And another thing we talked about in my disabilities class is just how even though someone might have the same disability as when it comes to like the title, it affects each person differently depending on the family structure, depending on their support system, depending on how they look at themselves. So again, it's interesting to always see how and why certain people, bounce back the way they do or struggle the way they do and find their way. But I think it's powerful to always see and hear someone's truth when it comes to that type of stuff, because that to me is what makes, everything we do as far as storytelling, reporting, radio shows, that, the person and getting to know them on a personal level and understanding why they do what they do and what makes them go is always inspiring to me. So there's my deep soliloquy. I'm sorry I went on a tangent there, but I am passionate about that stuff, man. Speak your truth and hope somebody hears it.
I think we heard it. Jason heard it. I know he did.
Yeah. You may not see him, but he's listening.
Jason Liggett, of course, our videographer from UPTV, is here. But, of course, talking a lot about impairments, and some people with impairments don't like you to talk about it, which is fine. Mm-hmm. But personally, I think it's important to talk about it, because then people kind of better understand, I guess, who you are, or your experiences, or all of that good stuff.
That's very true.
So, James, I know you're interested in kind of writing in depth about people. Tell me about this project of yours, or us listeners, not just me. Tell
you. Outside of covering all things Illini, it seems like I usually try to dive into pieces that don't have anything to do with what I usually cover, which is, men's basketball, football, basketball, and things like that. Like last year, I wrote a long form piece on one of my friends now that I didn't know at the time. He kind of just got introduced to the guy. Wrote a long form piece about engineering on campus and black students when it comes to engineering. And wrote another story last year about a girl on campus that's undocumented. And I think this time around, I want to kind of dive into the Paralympic athlete side of things, because on one hand, I love sports, and on the other hand, I love kind of like the new perspective and telling stories that are often misconceived, things like that. So for my next long-form project, I think I really want to dive into some Paralympic athletes on campus and kind of share their story. I don't know if it'll be long as per se as the other pieces I did, but maybe some well thought out, some thorough profiles on different personalities on campus that have a lot to do with our Paralympic scene here. So I'm looking forward to that, mainly because I feel like we talk and interact with these people so much, and we talk about sports so much. But if you think about it, you might play in a basketball game for 2 hours, or you might go practice maybe 10, 12 hours a week, or you might do, but it's not the majority of your life. You have all these other things to do outside of your life. In a lot of these cases that you still have to deal with a disability with. You see what I'm saying? So I want to show that. I think I want to share that. And I think by doing so, a lot of the times people will understand things better when they have like a human face behind it. You can talk about an issue all day long, but I feel like if you can kind of humanize it, give them a face, and then talk about the issues or the triumphs and things like that, I feel like that's the way to go. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. Oh, I'm always excited when it comes to this stuff. Just, and it almost like messes me up because still got school and things like that. But
really, no.
I'm looking forward to the upcoming week and getting the ball rolling on that and neglecting some schoolwork to get it done. So we'll see where it goes.
Don't worry, I'm right there with you.
Oh yeah,
Sounds like a good beat.
Don't ask me about my grades. That's one thing I will not discuss on radio.
Hey man, the way I look at
That's
it.
confidential.
Hey, Alex, Ryan, you know it better than, and even Jason. Just pass. Just pass. You pass, you're good.
Yeah.
One day at a time.
Never had to take the. Hey, my honest to God, my approach to all of these things when it comes to school is just, if I get through this class, I never have to take it again. And if I don't like who's teaching it, guess what? I don't have to see him again ever. So,
Right.
there you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's true. I took econ last semester, didn't like it, passed. I mean,
Never again.
my professor probably doesn't even know I exist because I never went up to him. But
Yeah.
I feel that though.
Well, don't ask me about my international communications class. I somehow passed with flying colors of a 50%. I somehow got a
I'm
C.
not laughing at you, but I can't lie. I am.
She must have curbed my grades so much. She just wanted me to get out of there, and boy, did I feel the same way.
She said, "I don't want to see him."
I don't want to be back here. I don't want to be back here.
This guy.
Yeah, she's not teaching that class anymore. Sorry, rough eval from me. Anyways,
Ryan out here taking names and taking jobs.
oops. Yeah. No, going back to James' initiative to do long-form pieces. I'm also doing a series of my own for the Paralympic Committee. It's not long-form. We wanted to keep it in short, small bites, just so it's easier for people to process and all of that good stuff. And I mean, I would love to write thousands of words about. So just to backtrack, my series is about the relationship between visually impaired skiers like Madison Bauman and their guides. So the guide skis in front of the VI skiers and tell them what to do through Bluetooth communication. So I'm kind of exploring that relationship for the IPC. This is different from the story on trust. This is something different. It's called bonding through guiding.
Yeah, I'm like, Bluetooth, that takes a lot.
Yeah, I just Bluetooth alone just
Yeah,
sounds
you
like
got to have a lot of conviction to do that. So I'm looking forward to
Yeah, so it'll be
checking it out.
a pretty good series. We have more stories to come. Nothing too long. 700, 800 words. First one came out on Stacy Manella and Sadie Dabon. Great people. And Gernot Morgenfurt and his guide. From Austria. Very good people. Love talking with them. And so I learned a lot. I could write 1,000,000 words about all those people, but I just don't have the space.
I feel like Ryan's network is so global. You know, he's got
Yeah.
friends in Austria.
I met a guy from Sweden last semester. That's about as international as I go.
Ryan's, Germany, and he might be traveling here.
That's
and
what
there.
I like about the IPC. I get to meet people from Switzerland, Australia, Austria, Germany, Norway.
See what I mean?
What?
That's pretty cool.
How do you know all? What?
He's a
It's
global
secret.
icon, Alex. Any more questions?
What is this?
Take him up with
Where's
his
this
agent.
from? All I know
Yeah.
is Germany.
I-
He's over here
I have a
throwing
speaking
Norway,
fee, okay?
Austria, Australia. Like, where did this come from? What do you mean you know people from Norway? Like, what?
I mean, why not?
Very good question.
Why not? They're all good people.
I mean, that's cool. I'm just like, how do you know them?
Magic, smoke and mirrors like we do on this show every day.
Every Friday.
Every Friday.
This is only my second show, so I'm still learning.
It's okay. But with 3 minutes to go, oh man, why can't we do a 2-hour show? Let's do a marathon.
Jason almost passed out.
He was just like,
And I was about to pass out. I'm like, hey, I don't know about 2 hours.
Okay, well, let's not do a radio marathon, but let's do a 10K. Actually, we are doing a 10K. Not on the radio, but a real 10K. I'm running.
I always think.
James is running. Will is running.
Yes.
And maybe you, listener, could run with us. You will help us. Actually, not just us. My ego. No, not just that either. You'll help. You're going to help a charity, a local charity, and also Illini Media Company. Illini Media helps put on our show, helps print the Daily Illini, helps run WPGU, the Buzz magazine, everything. So what we're doing is a little campaign to raise money as we run in the 10K here in Illinois in April. You can run with us if you want.
Yeah, that's. I don't know how I end up in these situations.
I don't either, but I'm just going to sit and watch.
So
literally.
You'll have Ryan doing his thing with his thumb, and then you'll have me and Will.
Yeah, I was ready to say, I was like, hey.
Hopefully, I'm praying, God, please be good to me, that it is not freezing cold. Because April's a time when you just don't know, like, what the weather's going to be. It could be, like, raining and terrible or, like, nice and sunny.
Yep.
But either way, we will be out there. And it should be, obviously, for a good cause and a fun cause. It'll be definitely something. If our listeners want to come and see us struggle, feel free. We'll definitely talk about it afterwards. Afterwards, I mean, after I get my ice and rest and shower and clean myself up.
How long is a 10K again? I forgot.
6.2 miles.
All right. Well, I will be in that for about an hour.
Right. Keep that chair charged.
5.1 miles an hour is my top speed. I will be in a very competitive race with the other scooter runners.
Make sure you get that draft, man. Get that split screen. Go behind them that way. Less draft.
Slingshot around.
Nah. This is like Tatiana and Amanda. When we get out there, it's every man for himself. I'm leaving you and Will. I'm gonna let y'all go. I'm gonna hang back to make sure nothing happens. But I'm gonna hang back. I'll let
What if you push me?
Oh, I love you, Ryan.
Yeah.
I think we talked about this, but I pushed Ryan back from the arc and. I do believe, I think it was my left arm. He had a bag on his chair, which obviously.
Still do.
Right. And I remember pushing the chair, and I was like, dang, my left arm's hurting a lot more than my right arm. Like, why is my arm hurting? And I remember asking him, like, Ryan, does your chair weigh more on like this side? He's like, oh, I have this bag. I'm like, you'd be surprised how much that bag starts to kick in after, a couple of blocks.
I do slide some bricks in there every now and then.
Yeah, and then on that day, he especially had about 8 bricks. So,
man.
But I was excited. That was just one of the funnier moments that we've had together. So, a lot of people enjoyed that picture, and I think a lot of people were telling me you just never take anything serious, but it's enough serious stuff in life. Can't take it all serious. So, we got to where we're going, right? One piece.
Yeah, we did, kind of.
I was like,
What does kind of
I mean,
what does
I was
that
like
mean?
It was like a free Uber code or something. I got the man where he was going.
Well, it was funny. We have about 0 seconds left, but it was funny. In the arc, James asked me, "What do you do? What do you do if your chair dies?" And I just stared at him, and I didn't say anything. I'm like, "I call you."
Yeah, because he was like, "Yeah, I just like call people that I trust," and I was like, "Wait, is this like a trick question?" I just assumed someone would. But hey, I got a couple of muscles, so we made it work. We made it work.
And here we go. So, stay in the loop. We'll be sharing more about the Illinois 10K and Rollin Illini's run to raise some funds for everybody we like. So stay tuned. Next week, we'll be back. James Boyd, Alex Aguilera, Jason Liggett, Will Gerard here. Where are you, Will?
Yeah, hopefully we'll be back next week.
Sure, man. And UPTV is here on WPGU 107.1. See you next week. Bye.